as title says, what we are going to see basically in this webinar is how you will be starting with the Android application development. So what are the tools that you will be using for creating the Android applications? Apart from that particular concept, I am also going to take you through a very simple application which you will be developing as a part of the course if you take up a course with the Edureka. And then I will also take you through the syllabus. So what are the contents that will be covered under Android application development training that Edureka offers? Okay, so before that, just let's go through the basics of Android application development. Okay, so as I said, what will be the agenda for this particular webinar? So the agenda for this particular webinar is I'll be introducing you to the Android application development. Then we will be seeing what are the tools that we will be using for creating the Android applications. Activity lifecycle, which is the very important concept. So basically, activity is so in case if you work on the Android application development or web development, or in fact, if you are the Android user, you must have seen like there are a lot of screens that are present in every application. So those screens are called as activity from the developer perspective. Okay, so if you are the Android developer, you would never call them as a screen. You will call them as the activity. So we are going to see like what are the different lifecycle methods your application goes through. So you all know when you install the game, you might play that game. Suddenly you will get a call from your friend. So you would not be exiting that game. You will be pressing the home key. Your game will go into background. Again, it will come into the foreground. So all those things will be happening inside your application. So those are called as the lifecycle method. So we are going to see that. Then I will be talking about Android essential libraries. So some of the libraries which are offered by the Google as well as by the third-party developers, which you can use for creating beautiful applications. And then we will be seeing at the best practices. Okay. So before starting with the Android application development, so I hope all of you must be knowing Android is basically a product of Google, which was released in 2007. So it's been almost 8 years. Android is in market. So you can develop so once you learn the Android application development, you can basically create an application for the mobile, laptop, because nowadays the Android OS is also present available for download and to install on your laptop. And it is being said that now soon the Android will be replacing the Chrome OS for the laptops. So in a near future, you will be creating the applications for the desktop or laptops operating system. Apart from that, Android is also present for the smartwatch, Google Glass, Android Auto. So it's not just limited to mobile. So now you can develop the applications for a whole set of hardwares if you know how to develop the applications for the Android platform. And Android is popular with technology companies which require a ready-made, low-cost, and customizable operating system. So that's the biggest advantage of Android, because since Android is open source platform, so it is not like you are just limited to the options which are offered by the Google. You can just download the source code of Android and you can add your own flavor to it, or you can add your own features to it. So it is highly customizable. And it is designed for touchscreen mobile devices such as smartphone, tablet, computers, and whatnot. Okay, and I have got a question from Ramkrishna. He is not able to listen to my audio. Okay, so Ramkrishna. Okay, so I'll just write it down. Okay. So these are the different Android versions which are available in market. So starting from 1.5. So I basically began application development with Android 1.6, and now you can see the Android has traveled a lot. Now the Android is available for the latest instance devices, that is Marshmallow 6.0. And starting with 6.0, that there are a lot of new beautiful APIs that are available for creating the beautiful Android applications. So you must have seen like Android, how was Android in like 2.3 or 4.0 devices, and now how it is in 6.0. So there is a lot of things that are changed from the design perspective, from developer perspective, and we are making sure that we are keeping our syllabus updated with Android 6.0. So all the things that you will be learning as a part of the syllabus, so you will be building the applications for Android 6.0. So basically these are the versions which are available in market. So you might be wondering, okay, so I'm talking about Android application development. So what are the tools that you will be using for creating the Android application? So for creating the Android application, the tool that we will be using, it is called as Android Studio. Okay. So Android Studio basically is a tool, is an integrated development environment which is available for writing the Android applications. Okay. So if you navigate to this particular link, so before navigation, I would just like to explain you what are the minimum system requirements. So it requires Windows 8, 7, Vista or 2.2 2003. So 64-bit is the most recommended operating system. You will require minimum 2 GB of RAM, 400 MB of hard disk space, and it will basically it will take 1 GB for Android SDK, emulator, images, and caches. Apart from that, you will require 400 MB of hard disk space for saving the projects, saving your settings and all. 1280 by 800 minimum resolution that will be required. You will be required minimum Java version 7, that is JDK 7. And if you plan to run your applications on Android Emulator, which I will be talking about shortly, so you will also require the VirtualBox support on your machines. But I'm pretty sure if you are using the latest laptops or latest desktops, you would be having the VirtualBox support inside it. So I have got a very good question from Vishal. Is Android Studio similar to Eclipse or better? So Vishal, I would say Android Studio is much more advanced as compared to Eclipse. And the biggest reason that we should switch to Android Studio because now Google has stopped supporting Eclipse. So Android Studio is the official Google IDE for creating the Android applications. So we should basically move on to the Android Studio now. So Eclipse was used till 2013-14, but now starting with 2015, we are using the Android Studio for creating the Android applications. And I have got one more question. Can I install it without internet connection? So no, Gautam. So initially Android Studio will require the internet connection so that it can download the necessary libraries, necessary tools and plugins. So installation and for creating your first project, you will require the internet connection. Once it downloads all the dependencies and all, then thereafter you can just use Android Studio offline also, not an issue. Okay, so let's go on to this particular link. Okay, so I'll just, yeah. So you can see basically, so when you will be opening that particular link, it will be giving you option to download the Android Studio. So they have explained a lot of features that are offered by the Android Studio. So in case if you are using Windows, you will be using the Windows installer, or Mac OS X or Linux. It's up to you which operating system you use. And does it work with Python as well? So no, people. Android Studio doesn't support Python, but in case if you want to perform the Python application development in Android Studio, you will have to install a separate Python plugin. And yes, Gokul, I agree. Android Studio is complex to use than Eclipse, but I would say the more feature you will have in any IDE, you will find it complex little bit, at least for a week. But thereafter, once you get a grip on that particular IDE, you will find it much more efficient to use. Okay, so let's assume you have downloaded and installed the Android Studio. So in case if you are using Windows machine, you will be getting an executable file on a desktop shortcut. You can just click on that. I'm using Mac, so I have got the Android Studio icon in a dock. So when you open the Android Studio, you will see something like this. So this is a screen that you will be presented with. So there you will have a lot of options, create new project, or you can open the existing project. You can also work in the team environment with your colleagues. You can import the Android code sample and a lot of things you can do in the configure. I can download the lot of Android SDKs. So don't get confused between the Android Studio and Android SDK. So Android SDK is a software development kit. It is a set of APIs. And Android Studio, it is just the editor. So it is something like Notepad, right? So it is just a Notepad where you will be writing your code, but behind the scenes, it will be using this SDKs for compiling and running your applications. Okay, so we have to make sure that we are keeping our SDK up to date. So basically, we have to make sure we are keeping our Android Studio up to date. Apart from that, we are also keeping our Android SDK up to date. But we should give higher priority to Android SDK because this is essential part. So now you can see. So when I open the Android SDK, I'll be seeing a lot of options over there. So I'm seeing Android 6.0, 5.1.1. So what I have done is I have installed 6.0 because as I told you, all the applications that we will be developing as a part of course, they will be created for Android 6.0. So I have installed this particular SDK over here. And I got a very good question from Gokul. If I use my phone, do I need updated SDK? So yes, guys. So updated SDK you will require because if you don't have the updated SDK, you will not have access to the APIs. That's the reason you will be requiring the updated SDKs. Okay, so let's assume you have done all this installation. So installation is pretty simple. You just need to check these check boxes and you just need to click on install packages. And what it is going to do, it is going to install those options for you. Okay, so this is how you will be installing the SDK. So the good news is if you download the Android Studio and if you open it, by default all the latest SDKs are already installed for you. But maybe after a couple of months, so we are not going to download Android Studio again and again. So what we will be doing thereafter, we will just keep on updating our existing studio. So that time, if you see something update is available, you can just check that checkbox and you can click on install. And can we test Android applications in device? Yes, definitely, Puneet. So you can either install the applications on the emulator or you can install it on device. But I would definitely recommend installing the Android applications on the device because at the end of the day, all the applications that you will be developing, you will be using those on device only. And Rishu, yes. So it is a freeware. Android Studio. So all the softwares which are provided by the Google, they are mostly open source, and Android is no exception. So Android Studio is also open source IDE. Okay, so I'll just close it down. So this is how basically the IDE will look like. So you can call it as a splash screen. Okay, so now let's begin with a simple application development. So what I'm going to show you is, so let's not go into the complex app development. I'll be showing you a pretty simple application. So we will be creating a calculator application where we will have two text fields and we will have one button. So you'll be entering two numbers in those text fields, and when you click on the button, what it is going to do, it is going to perform the calculations on those numbers and it is going to display the pop-up. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new project, and the main agenda behind coding this particular application is so when you will go through this application, you will come to know like how the UI is built, how will you write the programming logic, how is the business logic is performed. So all those things you will be come to know basically. And if you have the very basic knowledge of Java application development, you would find it little bit interesting and easy to follow. Okay, so let's give the name as calculator. Click on next. So whenever you are creating an Android application, it will always ask you what is the minimum SDK. So what is meant by minimum SDK? So it is something like you are creating an application for Windows. So when I create an application for Windows, I will specify that my application will run on Windows 8, Windows and 10. Okay, so I will specify my application will run on Windows 8, 8.1 and 10. It means I am saying that my application will not run on Windows 7, 2003, XP or any previous versions. Okay, so that's the meaning of minimum SDK. So here I'm saying that my application will run on all the devices which are having 4.0.3 and above versions. Click on next. So let's create a blank activity project. Next, and I will click on finish. And Brahmjot, so there is nothing like is Android better or is iOS. So it's all about like what your interest is. Whether you are interested in creating the iOS application or the Android applications. I would say at this moment Android and iOS, they are just on the same level. But the way Google is releasing all the Android versions and the APIs, it appears that it is a long time player as compared to iOS. So it is just my personal opinion because nobody knows what is going to happen in future. But I would definitely recommend Android as compared to iOS. So you can see, so whenever you create a new application, so you will be seeing this particular screen. This is called as a preview of your application. So I'm not running this application on the device. So it is just showing me the preview of newly created application. So what are we going to do? We are going to create two text fields. So remember, in Android, whenever you want to create a UI, you will be creating that particular UI in the XML file. And whenever you want to write the business logic, application code, you will be writing it in Java. So I will be explaining you how the connection happens. And Android is reachable to masses. Yes, definitely, Vishal. Okay, so let's go over here. So what I am saying is I want to have two text fields where user can enter the inputs, right? So in Android, the text fields are called as edit text. So what is meant by edit text? Edit text means text field. And I will say that my width should be, it will span entire width of the device. And it will span as minimum space as possible in the height. Okay, so you can see I have got one edit text over here. Okay, so if I had given my height as match parent, what would happen? My edit text will take entire screen height. Okay, but right now I'm saying wrap content. Wrap content means take minimum height as possible. And I will enter the hint as enter number 1. So you can see, so now I'm getting hint enter number 1. Let's create one more edit text. Okay, and so in Android, whenever you are adding the contents, you will be adding those contents inside the container. And here I'm creating the container and I'm saying that all the childrens in my container, they will be added in the vertical fashion. So now you can see, so I have got two numbers over here, number 1 and number 2. Below that, I will be creating the button and button text, I will be giving it as add 2 digits. Okay, so what we have done, we have created a pretty simple UI over here. So I have created two edit text. So don't get confused by edit text word. So edit text is nothing but text field. So I have created two text fields and I have created button. But there is one more thing. Since this is a calculator application, I don't want user to enter a text inside it, right? Because in the calculator application, if user enters A, B, C, D or any alphabets, and if you try to perform the addition, your application is going to crash, right? Because you cannot add two characters, you can add 2 digits. So to restrict user to enter only numbers, I'm going to say input type text, or I can say number. Okay, so you can say number or you can say number decimal. So it's up to you. For now, we will just go with number. Here also, I will say input type is number. So you can see, so now we have got 2 numbers over there. And now let's run this application. So I'm going to run this particular application in the emulator. So shortly, I will also tell you from where I downloaded the emulator and what is the use of emulator. For now, let's just see the output of our application. Okay, so you can see this is my emulator. And when I run my application, now you can see. So I'm seeing a pretty simple UI, which is asking me to enter number 1, asking me to enter number 2. So now you can see. So if I try to type the characters, it is not allowing me, but I can type the numbers. In number 2, I will type something like this. And now I can click on add 2 digits. So right now nothing is going to happen because we haven't written any business logic over there. But now let's move on to the further part. So before that, I just wanted to ask you guys, so are you clear about how did we created this UI? Are you clear about this particular 3 components? Okay, that's awesome. Yes, Mudassir, I will definitely tell you about the orientation. So what is meant by orientation is, so orientation decides how your controls will be shown onto the UI. Okay, so let me open the preview. So sometimes you will see these issues. Okay, so sometimes it doesn't show us the preview. So that's a sad thing, but yeah. Okay, so Now what we are going to do is, so let's say if I make the orientation as horizontal. So what will happen? I will have text field 1. On the right hand side of that, I will have text field 2, and on the right hand side of that, I will have text field 3, like that. Okay. So basically, orientation decides how the children will be added to your layout, whether in the vertical fashion or whether in the horizontal fashion. Okay, and Ramchut, yes, I'm using the different emulator that is called as Genymotion. So I will shortly come to that particular point. And rendering problem, so Samsung, it's a bug in Android Studio. So sometimes it gives you the rendering problems. So basically, if I restart the Android Studio, that problem should go away. But yeah, it gives us that particular problem. Yeah. So let me remove that input type and check. To refresh the layout. Yeah, so I might have to restart the Android Studio, but that's perfectly fine. Okay. Okay. And okay, so I have a question. If you not keep input type, okay, so if you don't write input type is equal to number, then you can enter anything in the text fields. So I don't want user to enter the characters and place the plus key, right? I just want him to enter the numbers. So that's why I'm saying input type is equal to number. And Uday said even decreasing the API will not solve that issue because it's not an option, I would say, because if you decrease the API number, you would not able to write the applications for the latest platform. Okay, so I'm using Windows. Which software this kind of program can run? So Jackson, even if you are using the Windows, Android Studio is available for the Windows, so it's not an issue. And the database that has been used by the Android, it is called as the SQLite database. And is it compulsory to root Android mobile for testing? So no, Punit. You don't need to have the rooted mobile to test the Android application. You can test the Android applications on the normal mobile also. And can we define the hardcore orientation which will remain? So yes, people, that can be done. Yes, definitely. Okay, so okay. Okay, so now let's move on to the further logic. So we have created our UI and that looks good. Now what I want to do is, so when I click on the button, I want to add two buttons and sorry, I want to add those two numbers and I just want to show the pop-up message. So what I'm going to do over here is, and the database that has been used by the Android, it is called as the SQLite database. That is the lighter form of SQL. So now what I'm going to do over here is I will go into my layout and there I am going to write IDs for each control. So for the first control, I will give the ID as number 1 edit text. For the second control, I will give the ID as number 2 edit text. And for the third control, I will give the ID as add button. So basically what we are doing over here, so we are just assigning the unique identifier for our controls over here. Okay, so what we have done is, so in case if you have done the HTML programming, you might be knowing that. So in HTML, all the HTML controls will have the unique identifier. Input type is equal to button, ID is equal to 1, 2, 3, something like that. So in a similar way, in Android also, whenever you will have the widgets, you will have the unique identifiers for those particular widgets. Okay, so we have number 1 edit text, number 2 edit text, and the add button. So now what I'm going to do over here, so I will write same thing, edit text. So what ID we have given? Number 1 edit text is equal to edit text, find view by ID, r.id dot number 1 edit text. Then we have number 2 edit text. So what I'm doing basically, find view by ID means my code will go into the XML file and it will try to find out the control with the provided ID. And finally, I will have a button. Add button is equal to type is button, find view by ID, r.id.add button. Okay, so what is a R? R stands for resources. Because if you see on the left hand side, so we have a folder called as resources, so that stands for R. Inside layout we have a ID, so it comes out to be r.id.number1, r.id.number2. In a similar way, r.id.add button kind of thing. And from yes, you can use the binding also, data binding concept that has been introduced in the Marshmallow. Okay, and Srini, it is defined internally. So we don't do that. It is automatically done by default. Okay, and finally I am going to say add button set on click listener. So what is meant by on click listener? Means I am saying that I want to listen for the add button click, and when the click happens, I will say perform addition. So I will create a function perform addition, and I'm going to pass number 1 edit text and number 2 edit text to it. Okay, and now I will say private void perform addition, and it is taking number 1 edit text, comma number 2 edit text, and now I will say string number 1 string is equal to number 1 edit text dot get text dot toString. String number 2 string is equal to number 2 edit text dot get text dot toString. So we have got number 1 string, we have got number 2 string. So before performing the addition, I also need to check whether my edit texts are empty or not, because sometimes user will not enter anything and he will just click on the press add button. So it shouldn't happen, right? So here I will say, so here I will use the Android built-in API called as textutils.isEmpty. So it is going to check whether my number 1 text field is empty or not, and if it is empty, then I'm just going to say number 1 edit text dot set error, please input number 1. Okay, and below I will just say return if here if textutils dot is empty number 2 string, then I'm just going to say number 2 edit text dot set error, please input number 2, and I'm just going to wait. So what we are doing, we are saying that if my number 1 string is empty, then show the error, please input number 1. If number 2 string is empty, then I will say please input number 2. And Puneet, yes, definitely. So whatever project we are doing currently, you can create the executable or the APK out of that, and you can run it on the device. Okay. So now let's run these applications. Let's see if it is working or not. Oh, so I think we messed up something. Oh, okay. So you can see. And fortunately, now you can see the preview is coming. So Android Studio is happy now, I guess. So now it is showing us the preview. Let's run the application. Enter number 1. I will not enter anything. I will just enter number 2 as 1, 2, 3. Click add 2 digit. And now you can see. So I'm getting the error message over there. Please input number 1. Now I will enter number 1, but I will not enter number 2. Click on add, and now I'm getting the message over there. So Simulator is sometimes slow, but now we are getting message as enter number 2. So now let's enter number 2 also and click on add 2 digits. And now we are not getting any message because we haven't written the addition code. So now what I'm going to do over here is, now inside the code, I'm going to add those two numbers. So I will say int number 1. So how do you convert the string into the integer? Using integer dot parseInt number 1 string, and int number 2 is equal to integer dot parseInt number 2 string. So once we get the number 1 and number 2, the next thing that we will be doing is int answer is equal to number 1 plus number 2. So now what we are getting over here? So we are getting an answer. And finally, we are going to display that answer on the screen. So I will say toast.makeText. So toast is an API which is used for showing the pop-up. So I'm saying toast.makeText this. This means I want to show that pop-up on this screen. What you want to show inside the pop-up? So I will display the pop-up as answer, and finally toast.length long. So whether you want to show the pop-up for the longer duration or whether you want to show that pop-up for the shorter duration, it will be decided by this. Okay, so looks fine to me. Let's run the application. Enter number 1, 2, 3, 4. Enter number 2, 5, 6, 7. Click add 2 digits, and now you can see. Now I will say I will see the answer is 801. So basically it is performing the addition of those two numbers and it is showing me the message over there. And can't be so now Gautam. So whenever you will take the input from the text field, it will always be in the string format. You have to convert it into integer. Okay, and answer Puneet. So whatever addition we are performing on the number 1, number 2, that result we are storing inside the answer. So answer is just a variable which is going to hold the addition for those two numbers. And so Pramchot, it is not going to enter generate any error because we are handling that. So if you don't enter any integer and if you click on add 2 digits, it is showing you please input number 2. So it will not generate any error. And at what place getText.toString is used? So Gokul, whenever you are reading the contents from the text fields in Android, you will always use getText.toString. Okay, so guys, so did you get the basic architecture of the Android application, how the application looks like, and how does it performs? And I'm pretty sure that you would be finding it very much interesting because there are a lot of stuff and you can achieve a lot of things by writing minimum amount of code. So now you can see we created a pretty simple calculator program by writing almost like 30 to 40 lines of code, and it's pretty easy to understand, nothing complex. So if you just see on line number 34, we are getting the contents from the text field 1. On line number 35, we are getting the contents from text field 2. On line number 37, we are checking if the first text field contents are empty, then show the error. If the second text field contents are empty, then show the error. And if both are filled, then just convert them into integer, perform the addition, and show the addition on the pop-up message. So you can see how easy it is basically. And what if user enters negative numbers? So Mithilesh, that's not an issue because we are allowed to perform addition of negative numbers also, right? So I'm just going to get the answer as 0 because 234 plus minus 234, it is going to be 0. Okay, and finally question arises, how you are going to create the executable out of it. So now I will just go into build, generate signed APK. Signed APK means you are going to sign this particular application with your identity. So we are just going to create a new identity. So I will say I want to create the identity file on my home folder. File name I will give it as key store. So this is just digitally signing your application. So before you create the executable, you have to sign your executable with your signing key. Okay, password I will just give it 123456 for now. 123456. Alias I will give it as same alias, file name key store. Here also password 123456. Confirm 123456. First name. So right now I'm just putting any dummy values, but in the real world you will be putting your organization name. So first name I will put it as Edureka, organization, Edureka, city, Bangalore, state, Bangalore, country code I will write it as 91. Okay. Click next. Password I will enter my computer password and click finish. So now what it is going to do, it is going to digitally sign your application and it is going to give you the APK file. Okay, and finally I got the message, APK is generated, and now you can see. So finally we have created a successful APK out of that, which is almost about 1.4 MB. And if you install this particular APK on your device, you will be getting this calculator application. Puneet, alias means just a friendly name for that particular key store. Okay, and so Srini, there is no need to connect your Genymotion with the Android Studio. So you just need to start the Genymotion and Android Studio will automatically detect that Genymotion is running and it will run the application in your Genymotion device. So as promised, I'm going to also talk about the Genymotion. So Genymotion is just the Android simulator. So you can just create a free account over there and you can download the emulator. So if you just go to this particular website, they have given all the steps that you need to follow. And once you download it, you can just open that emulator. So basically it is going to look something like this. So it is going to show you all the things, and this is basically a Marshmallow device which I'm using. So if you go into settings and if you go into the about, you can see. So we are using Android version 6.0 over there. Okay, so basically this is Genymotion and you can run your applications. Okay, and Srini, if the Genymotion was not running, so I cannot tell you like this. So I will need to check the error logs and all. So whenever Genymotion doesn't start, it will print, it will save the error logs in the program files. So so you can just have a look at those error logs. You will have to do somewhat Googling, and maybe after looking at that, you can come to know what's the exactly issue. Might be your operating system is not compatible, or the operating system architecture or the VirtualBox might not be installed. There can be many reasons. Okay, so basically this is how the Android application development is performed. So if you see, your application is consist of the Java folder. So in the Java folder, you will be having all of your source code. You will be having the layout files. So in the layout, you will be creating your UI. So basically it consists of multiple files. Java file, which contains all your business logic, XML file, which contains all your layout and UI. And Genymotion doesn't require the graphics card, Gautam. So it does not require any special graphics card. So built-in graphics which are present on the motherboard, they are perfectly fine. Okay. So apart from that, so we also use the version control. So version control is something like, so if you have like 10 developers who are working from the 10 different locations, so basically Android Studio also support the version control. So you can just commit your code, you can check out the code. So version control is supported. Then in the Android, you can also introduce the crash analytics, because your application will be installed by thousands of users, right? So there might be a case that your application is crashing on particular devices. So using crash analytics, you can exactly come to know on which devices your application is crashing, then how many crashes are there. If you click on any particular crash, it is also going to show you the line number in which the crash happened and all those sort of things. And put it definitely you can install, you can test it without simulator. So in that case, you will just connect your physical device and you can run that application on the physical device. This is the activity lifecycle I was talking about. So whenever you create and run the application, it is going to jump into the onCreate method. So if you remember, we wrote all the code inside the onCreate method, because onCreate method is the starting point of your application. So it is something like public static void main. So in the Java file, the starting point is public static void main, right? So same way in Android, the starting point is onCreate. So we have onCreate, then we have the onStart. So when your application, so in the onCreate, all the initialization happens. In the onStart, it is going to prepare your application, and in the onResume, your user will actually start interacting with your application. So because of certain reason, you might be putting your application in the background, so that time onStop method gets called. Then suddenly if you exit your application, that time onDestroy will get called. So these methods are pretty important, because sometimes you might be writing the code based on these methods. Something like in the onResume method, I will be starting the network connection, but in onDestroy, I will be closing the network connection, because the onDestroy is getting called when your application is exiting, right? So it doesn't make any sense to keep on your internet connection going even if the application is exited. So we have to respect those methods, and we have to write the code accordingly. So right now our code was pretty simple, so we don't need to introduce all those lifecycle methods. But when you will start creating the actual applications, complex applications, that time you will have to include the lifecycle code also. And Srini on pause will basically get called whenever you will whenever you will get a pop-up message in front of the application. So your application will be in foreground, but until and unless you dismiss that message, you cannot interact with your application again, right? So that's where on pause comes into the picture. Apart from that, so as a part of the course, you will be also learning somewhat third-party libraries, something like retrofit. So using retrofit, you can basically perform the web services operations. You can call out the web services, you can fetch the data, and you can display that data on the UI. So all those sort of things are present using retrofit and OKHTTP. So you will be learning those things as a part of the syllabus. Apart from that, you will be learning how you can download the images inside your application, and you can display those images. So I'm going to show you a pretty simple application which I created using Picasso and retrofit. So after that, you will also be learning how you can unit test the applications using Robolectric. So this is a framework that you will be learning, which allows you to basically unit test your application. And basically, this is about the Android job trend. So now you can see, as we are moving forward, there are a lot of jobs that are coming into the market. And so we have got a lot of successful stories. So our student has got a very good jobs after completing the course, and after putting some extra efforts into the course. So there's plenty of opportunities available, and it is important that you grab those opportunities. Okay, so let me show you a pretty simple application. Kind of application. So let me run it on the device and show it to you. So what does this application do? It fetches the list of all the trending movies which are available in market. Okay, which are just released, and it is going to show you the list of those movies. So let me run this application first. So if I run this application, it is going to fetch all the latest movies, and it is going to show me those movies. So you can see. So it is loading the movies information. Oh, so it shouldn't take that much time. Let me check what's the issue. Okay, so let me check whether my internet is working or not. So I'm pretty sure it is not working. So my internet is not working. Let me start JMotion again. Okay, so now let's run that application again. So it was the track movie app, and hopefully this time we will get the data. Okay, so let me check what's the issue. Okay, so just wait for a second. Oh, we are getting the data. So what's the issue? Yeah, now it is working. Strange, but maybe there was some problem. So you can see very simple application, and what it is doing, it is loading all the posters of the movies which are available for viewing in the theaters. So what is application basically doing? So this is just fetching the data from the network. It is downloading the images and it is showing you those particular images inside the list view. So pretty simple app. It did not take more than an hour for development, but you can see how useful this app is. So you can just create this kind of application if you like to watch a lot of movies. So whenever you want to see any movie, so right now I'm not showing any movie titles. I'm just showing the movie image. So it is just a sample app, but you can nicely show the movie title. You can nicely show the ratings and what kind of movie it is, action, comedy, drama, and all those sort of things. So these kind of applications you will be developing as a part of the course. So during the course, we will make sure that we will be creating this kind of applications so that it will give you a pretty much confidence while creating the apps. And how? What is the procedure for getting my Android app listed in the Google Play? So Srini, you just need to publish your application in the Google Play Store. So you just need to digitally sign your application and finally publish that particular application in the Google Play Store. And Yash, as I said, you basically did not link your emulator with the studio. So it is not like that. You just need to start the Genymotion emulator, and the Android Studio will automatically detect that. You don't need to manually link that. It will automatically detect your Genymotion emulator. And Srini, you can develop applications using the HTML5, CSS, and the JavaScript. In Android Studio, it is not possible. No, unfortunately, you will have to use some other editors. And Rishu, so if you want to upload your applications in the Google Play Store, you will have to pay a fees for that. It is not free of cost, so you just need to take the $25 developer account, and once you take that particular developer account, then you can publish as many applications as you want. And Yashwal, I'm very sorry, I haven't tried the BlueStack, so I might not able to comment on that. But if it is something like emulator, then definitely this application will run on your BlueStack also. Yes, that's possible. Okay, and finally, last but not the least, I will also like to take you through the syllabus. So what are the things that you will be learning as a part of Android course? So let me take you through the syllabus. Okay, let me open the Edureka website. And Mudassir, the Gradle is a build tool, which basically responsible for building your applications and creating the executable out of those. Okay, so this is a syllabus. So you can just go to the Edureka website and you can have a in-depth look at the syllabus. But tentatively, what are the things that will be covered? So you will be learning like basics of the Android. You will be so right now I just shown you the couple of widgets and single layout. But as a part of the syllabus, you will be learning a lot of different types of layout: relative layout, linear layout, frame layout, table, web view, checkbox, radio buttons. So a lot of widgets and the layout you will be learning. Then in the activity and fragment, so you will see how you can, so you will learn basically how you can create different navigations inside your application, how you can create different types of UI, how you can play the media, how you can display the notifications. So all those things you will be learning. Then you will be learning how you can create the advanced widgets, how you can perform the animations, how you can store your data, how you can interact with the web services, how you can interact with the location services, how you can create the Google Maps application, which will show all the information on the Google Map. You will be learning how you can create the database applications and how you to use the third-party libraries, something like Retrofit and OKHTTP. Then you will be learning how you can integrate the social media functionality inside your application, using which user can share the contents on the Facebook, Dropbox, Twitter. You'll be learning how you can use the sensors, accelerometer, gyroscope, compass, and finally you will be seeing like how you can create the end-to-end application development. So a lot of end-to-end things that you'll be learning as a part of the course. And Anuvo, you can directly upload the application on the Play Store. So there is no need to have any company. You can just put your name and you can upload it. Okay, and what is the cost of course? So guys, just drop a message to the Edureka, or in fact, you can see the cost of the course on the Edureka website also. So they have given the cost over here, so you can have ordered now. And as I can see, there are a lot of discounts going on. So I think it's a good time to enroll into the courses. Okay, and guys, my email ID is vipul@edureka.co. This is my email ID. So if you have any queries related to the course or something like that, you can definitely reach out to me. And if you have any queries regarding when the course is starting, what is the cost of the course, you can drop a mail to support@edureka.co. Okay, so I'm sending you both the IDs. Okay, so just drop a mail to them and you will come. And how we can do the version controlling, some versioning. So Pramjot, you can do it either using Git or you can do using SVN. And if you see into the Android Studio, so there is an option like VCS. So you can check out from the version control in the GitHub, CVS, Git, Google Cloud. So there are a lot of things are there. You can put your application in the Google Play Store. So you can do all those sort of things. Okay, so guys, I hope this webinar must have given you the basic information about what are the things that you will be learning as a part of the Android course. Apart from that, how the Android application is basically created, how you can test your application on the device. So basically that was the agenda of this particular webinar, and I'm really looking forward to see all of you in the real course where we will be creating the good applications on a daily basis, basically. Okay, and what is the maximum app size, Kamal? So there is no such limit, but the minimum size your application will have, there are greater chances that the users will install your application. So you should really target for what are the features that you can give rather than app size. So if you are providing like 100 features and your app size is going more than 200 MB, so it doesn't matter, because what is matters is features. So end user is going to check how many features you are providing, and if he likes the feature, then he is not going to worry about the application size, because nowadays all the mobiles have got at least 16 GB of storage, so it really doesn't matter. Okay, so guys, did you enjoy the webinar? So are you excited? Are you all excited about creating the Android applications? I'm waiting for your answers in the chat window. Oh, that's awesome. I can see the positive response from all of you. Okay, so I hope guys, so yeah, so our webinar was pretty short. It was of 1 hour, but I tried to answer as many questions as possible. And Gautam, can you please repeat your question in case if I have missed your question? Can you please copy paste your question again? You have a lot of data, I want to create a simple app that displays in organized manner, whether I need to input all the data in SQLite or I can simply fetch using coding. So guys, so when you have a lot of data, I would suggest you to create a web server. So you will be putting all those data, you will be hosting all that data on the server side, and what your application will be doing, it will be fetching that data from the network using web services, and whatever data you will fetch, it will display that particular data on the device. So you can create that sort of architecture. Or if you want to put all the data on the offline mode, you can always put that particular data in the SQLite and you can fetch it. So it really depends on what business architecture you are following. There are a lot of options. And for the offline apps, so yes, you will have to manually insert that data in the SQLite, and you will have to embed that SQLite database inside your application. Apart from that, you can also store that data in the shared preference, or you can store that particular data in the file systems. So it depends. Like what architecture you want to follow. And Pramchand, Crash Analytics, it's not an application, it's an online tool basically. So if you just go through that particular website, so you will get a plenty of good information. So they will give you some API key that you have to integrate inside your application, and now whenever the crash will happen, you will get all the information about those crashes. So just go to this particular website. So I'll send you all the URL of that particular website. So just in your free time, just go to this particular website and you will get more information. Okay, so thank you guys, keep in touch, and I hope to see you all in the Android session. Thank you very much, have a great day, good night.